You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning on another edition of Inside Automotive right here at the CBT Automotive Network. And look who I have with me in the studio here in Atlanta, Mr. Adam Marburger, who's President and CEO of Ascent Dealer Services, also host of one of our long-running shows. And we're so excited that you're hosting that show because it's one of the most viewed shows that we have. And I'm speaking of Training Camp, so thank you so much for giving us all of that great content. Yep. And I'm also joined by Chris Saraceno.
Pleasure to be here.
The partner at Kelly Automotive Group and the guy that's really running the deal over there, right? And,
well, I would say Greg and Tim Kelly work pretty hard. Greg Kelly is one of the few men in my life that I have a tough time outworking.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
One of the few. I used to think that was my superpower, but he's a hard worker.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Well, we're so glad that you're both here. And so what I thought, and you're here to shoot some of your shows here in Atlanta, which is great. So stay tuned for those shows because he has put together an incredible lineup of guests, and Chris is one of them. But while you're here, I just want to take the opportunity to really kind of talk about the current state of the auto industry right now that everybody is dealing with. And I'm talking about the tariffs and the uncertainty that's coming out of DC right now. Dealers don't really know which way to go. Do I order? Do I not? Do I stock up on a whole bunch of used cars? Are we going to be okay in the long run? What does this look like, right? So I'll start with you if I can, Chris. What are you telling your people today in this ocean of uncertainty? Your managers, your salespeople,
Well, I do say everything's going to be okay.
Okay.
This industry, I've been in it for over 40 years. There's ups and downs. So we will figure out a way to get through this. Are there going to be some challenges? But I'm also a big believer that as a leader, you never let them see your sweat.
Yeah.
And that because it's the unknown, I look at it and say people need cars. Yeah. And there's fixed operations, there's parts, there's different ways to make money. We may have to work a little harder, we may have to buy some cars, prices may go up. But I'm still a believer, and I said this from day one. I think 80% of this is going to be gone by the end of the summer.
Really?
I really do.
By the end of the summer,
I really
that quick?
I think by the end of summer it's going to be gone. I think we're going to have some of it yet, but that's my prediction, that you will see that happen by the end of the summer. 80% of this issues will be gone.
Overall, the stores that you've got, what kind of a daily supply of vehicles are you currently sitting on? That
depends on the franchise.
Yeah, sure.
Toyota is always very low. I mean, Toyota, we're really not much higher than we were during COVID.
Okay.
It's typically low. Nissan, we have plenty of inventory. Ford, we have plenty of inventory. We purposely have backed down from Mitsubishi. We have two Hyundai stores that are within an hour of each other. So because we have two stores, we could have less and still have enough inventory between the two stores.
Sure. What are you hearing from the OEMs? What kind of messaging are they giving you?
I feel like they don't know what they don't know, and they don't really have much of a message. They're in a wait and see mode on it. And again, depending on the manufacturer, I think Stellantis is going to be impacted the most.
Right.
I think Ford is in pretty good condition right now. Mitsubishi, fortunately, have inventory, and same with Nissan, we have inventory. Most of the manufacturers are just they don't know what it's going to be.
Right.
They know if it goes long and it's going to be here for a year.
Right.
A lot of them are going to be in trouble.
Right. And in terms of what you think is going to be over relatively soon. What are you saying, that Trump's going to be able to negotiate a deal and this is going to go away?
I believe it. Not everybody, but I believe that you're going to see 80% of the tariffs by the end of the summer. They're going to have it figured. We're going to know what we know, because right now I think the challenge is the unknown.
Right.
Nobody knows what's going to happen. So when you don't know what to do and you don't know what's going to happen, that's when it scares people. That's why the stock market.
Are you doing anything different today in running your stores?
Other than used cars, we're looking at. We're focusing on. We've started to focus on fixed operations before, but we're really going out of our way to look at used cars right now. I mean, we're putting $500 to $1,500 more in trades than we did up to 2 months ago. So we're calling customers up and say, hey, listen, most of our people, if we appraised a car within the last 60 days, we're willing to pay you $500 to $1,500 more.
Wow. And is that getting you some cars?
It is getting us some cars,
That's awesome.
And the fact is, if you look at the auctions right now, it's tough to buy cars at the auction. They don't have a lot of supply, and you're always the highest one. If you get the car at the auction, you paid the most.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Adam, you work with dealers all over the country, and Are they calling you saying, hey, we need to do another $1,000 a copy on the back end to make up for a possible shortage on volume? So, but what are you hearing from them today?
Yeah, there's definitely more demand. Margin compression is a definite real thing. We're talking tariff talks, and like you just said, Chris, there's so much uncertainty on that. Let's talk about tariffs for a minute real quick, though. Sure. We do have to pay attention. Dealers have to pay attention to their reinsurance positions. We need to make sure that we are reserving and increasing reserves to offset some of the potential increases in parts and labor. So that's one thing that we definitely have to pay attention to. But the reality is margin compression's real. We have to focus on our fixed operations. Used cars, buying more used cars, doing better in used cars. But F&I definitely has to be a focal point. So for the dealers that have decided, I'm going to just let F&I wing it, and I'm just going to let F&I be what it's going to be, they need another $300 to $500 per transaction to offset what they're losing in the front. So dealers, the talk is consistent as we need more in F&I.
Yeah. Do you think we'll start to see some subvented programs coming from the OEMs to offset the tariffs, and whether it be 0%?
I think the manufacturers, and I would love to, like Chris said a minute ago, that the manufacturers aren't saying a whole lot. There's just so much unknown. But there's going to have to be something to get consumers out shopping. So I see some type of subvented rates coming from the manufacturers for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And extended terms isn't necessarily, I mean, how far out can you go?
Well, I think you have people advertising that they're not going to move their prices up, manufacturers, because of the tariffs, but what they will do is give less rebates and incentives. That'll affect some things for sure.
Well, and I'm seeing 90 here. You got people going out 96 months now, 84 months, and that's scary.
When I hear that, I want to fall on the ground and cry.
Really scary.
I almost feel like saying bye-bye. We're never going to see you again.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate the cost of merchandise is so much more expensive today.
I know.
And it's a lot of our consumers, it's budget conscious. So how do you afford a $60,000 car?
That's right.
How do you afford some of these people afford a 50? You got to go 78 months or 84 months. It's unfortunate, and I do think this. And us as dealers, we want our clients back every 3 to 4 years to trade. I mean, that's what we really want. But I do believe that consumers may potentially keep cars a little bit longer than they used to. I think that's a play too.
That's true. There's no question. Chris, we saw an increase in the last couple of weeks of March in business, and everybody got excited and said, wow. And of course, we finished with a record high in March. Has that followed through in April? What does that look like today? And obviously, we were just finishing
April I think is unique. I think we have, is it 5 Thursday, Friday, Saturdays possibly?
Wow.
So I think it's, I think we're going to have a good April. And we finished strong. And everybody right now in our company is pretty happy about what's going on. We know we need more used cars. We know we need other sources to do it. My suggestion, we were just having a conversation behind the scenes, is like, hey, listen, if we're going to pay over $1,000 to buy a car at the auction and be the highest person, let's buy some off the street. Let's buy some out of the service department. Let's compensate our sales consultants more. Because we get to drive the car, we get to talk to the customer, and we're probably not paying as much as we pay at the auction, and it's probably a better car. So we have to look and see what we could do. And if it costs us $200-300 to pay a sales consultant, let's get everybody working so they could buy cars and sell cars.
That's right.
So you're not just a sales consultant, you're also a buyer. And let's turn everybody that works in the company towards a buyer.
That's right. And also tell the used car manager, if you were going to go 35, go 36.
Yes.
Right? Rather than losing that customer.
Exactly.
And just step up wherever you can, right?
Because we get to see the car, drive the car, and at the auction you don't have that same advantage.
That's right. And you're putting together a local deal. So interesting. So you mentioned your salespeople paying. Let's talk about salespeople for a moment. And through COVID, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Not to take anything away from you, very talented salespeople, but it was very easy to sell the car if you had it. You didn't move off the sticker price. In many cases, you charge more for sticker because you had the car. That was happening, whether it's unfortunate or fortunate, whatever. But where does that stand today? Is it a situation where customers are coming in going, I got to get my car before these terrible tariffs hit, and therefore the dealer's holding all the cards again?
I think that the dealer is saying that more than the customer. We're promoting that right now. Pretty much, if you look at all the advertising, if you look at the dealers, they're advertising pre-tariff pricing.
Exactly.
Because
tariff-free.
They're creating a sense of urgency when they come in. So I think it's more the dealers. I think customers are just as confused as as what the government is right now and everyone else is. They don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they're only listening to the advertising and the marketing of pre-tariff pricing.
Right.
And in some cases that's real, and in some others it's not.
Yeah.
It depends on the manufacturer that you have and where that car is coming, where that vehicle is coming from.
Yeah, yeah. Are you hearing that from your?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heard the same thing.
Yeah.
It's repetitive.
Yeah.
That's right.
It really
That's
is.
right. A lot of salespeople had to, and F&I, had to relearn how to present and do walkarounds and present vehicles and go, whoa, wait, especially those that joined the industry just after COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
They're looking back at the old timers going, what was so hard, right? It was like, no. This is not what car sales is all about, right?
I think I used to say something 10 to 12 times a day to people. This is not the norm.
Yep.
Please don't look at a customer and tell them, hey, if you don't want it, I got 10 other people.
That's right.
Do it in a way so there's self-esteem. Let them know, hey, listen,
Of course,
I'm concerned if you leave when you come back.
Right, yeah.
That vehicle won't be here. Promise me you won't be
right.
mad at me if that vehicle, anyway, let me find another vehicle for you.
Right.
Are you sure you want to leave?
Right.
Don't come across cocky.
Yeah.
And that's why you had a lot of people enter our industry and did very well, and a lot of people left the industry
That's right.
because they said, oh, this is a little bit more challenging
That's right.
than what I thought. You actually have to go work in this industry.
That's right. And there were a number of people that got in that went out and bought their Mercedes Benz and bigger houses and started living on that, that $20,000 a month paycheck, and only to find, a little bit of dip in business, we're in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They had to go backwards. I mean, the salespeople making 20 grand a month during COVID, you literally cut it back in half afterwards. That's a trouble.
Listen,
Right.
I mean,
this is not normal.
Right.
Your income will drop.
That's right. That's right.
Unless
save the money that you're making. Don't spend it.
That's right. In
That's called profound knowledge when you've lived through it before, many times before.
Yeah.
It was funny, in 2024, the managers I would talk to would say, the owner keeps coming up to me and going, this month last year to compare now you're like, last year was 2023. You kidding me? This is a whole new ballgame.
Well,
You can't compare to those numbers.
The brokers don't even, the brokers of dealerships, they don't even use COVID numbers.
No,
you have to throw them out.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. You do, and then they've told me they do that. Yeah, there's no question about it. Let me ask you another question about speaking of talent. Where do you get your next? In this case, where do you get your next F&I manager from? Where's that young man or young woman coming from? I say young, could be old, but where does that next F&I manager come from? What's the best case? Do they have to come from the showroom floor? Is that still kind of mandatory or?
That's a great question. In a perfect world, we have a bench within our organization where we have F&I associates that executive management believes in, that sees that they could be the next thing in F&I. So you get them exposed to F&I training here and there, and you build a bench. And so you got somebody who retires or somebody moves to another store, you just replace them.
Okay.
But if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would say you absolutely have to be in the car business. You absolutely have to sell cars first and then get into F&I.
Right. You got to know how a deal is structured.
We've had some success stories where we've taken bankers from U.S. Bank and came in and trained them up.
I bet. Yeah.
We had a superstar up in Michigan that we took from Enterprise Rental Company.
Yeah.
She was a manager and came in. She's number one in the organization. So, I mean, I think with the right training, I think you don't have to have the salesperson.
Right.
I would like to say I prefer it though, because even the guys and gals that I brought out from outside of the industry, you do have to train them on the art of the sale, and they need to understand car sales too.
Well, the empathy also that it could take that you're out in the sun, for 3 hours walking around.
Good point.
You might have worked that customer for 3 weeks or a month,
Right,
and then all of a sudden it's a cash deal and you have somebody mad at you. They should be high-fiving you, congratulations.
Yeah. That's right.
But there's nothing
Good
worse
point.
than a sales consultant really busting their butt, working hard all day long, and somebody who hasn't lived it getting mad at them for bringing a cash deal to them.
Wait a minute, Mr. Saraceno. Whoa. Are you saying F&I people get mad when they get a cash deal?
Some do.
No.
Sometimes they do.
Or they take.
I've never heard of that. What about a buy-sell lease right when you're closing? The old.
or when the customer goes, I'm going to take that option of nothing. I love the menu, but I'm taking that last one right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Great presentation, but I'll pass.
That's right. That's right. No, you're exactly right. To have that empathy, because so many times, and And it was nothing worse as a salesperson to run in and go, oh my God, 4 hours, and they go, yeah, sorry, that guy's credit is so bad they couldn't buy a car for cash.
Yeah.
You're like,
or all of a sudden something's thrown across the room.
Exactly, exactly. Why is it that F&I managers, and I'm including myself in this, we forget so fast when we get that job, right? What it was like on the showroom floor.
Yeah,
I think I did it.
It really does break my heart. I actually write about this. It's F&I people need to humble themselves. You know what we do? So within the 4 walls of the dealership, I don't care if you're a dealer, a principal, or you're a porter. We sell and service cars collectively as a unit.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Step on your ego. We're here to sell and service cars and serve people. Period.
Yeah.
And that's what F&I people need to understand. If it's a cash deal, it's a lease deal, you're helping somebody with their transportation needs.
Yeah.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
In the past, I'd have to go in and let somebody know the sales consultant's been here for about a month.
Yeah.
They're so excited about this. The guy is saying he's paying cash.
Right.
Please make them feel special.
Right.
Make them feel special.
Right.
And make sure when the customer walks in, you have a smile.
That's
not
right.
that you're already upset about this.
Because you're right. It flows over to the customer.
Because there's nothing
as well.
more deflating than somebody's excited and you have somebody mad at you for doing your job and taking care of a customer.
I know. No question about it. And what about at Kelly? Where do you get your managers from? Are they always coming from the showroom floor? Is that the incubator?
Ideally, that is what we would like to have happen. We would love to have, if we could have every person join our team and grow from within the company.
Right.
That would be what's best. Because then they understand our culture, they understand what we're all about, they understand each position. But we are just like many other dealers. We have to put ads out. We have to look for people that are out there right now, go through the interviews. The challenge is you don't ever know what you have. It's sort of the roll of the dice.
That's right.
They're always at their best in their interview. Everybody's so cautious right now giving references. I mean, sometimes dealers behind the scenes will say, but everybody's worried about legalities in today's world.
I know, no question about it.
And you got to be cautious. So I would tell you, I feel like it's more challenging today because people are afraid to even give a reference on somebody.
Yeah. You know what I found in my career is that a salesperson that is selling you maybe 5, 6, 7 cars a month, okay, comes in on time, comes in early, total team player, great attitude. Typically, that person's going to get blown out of a store because they're not producing, right? But I have actually promoted those people to other positions, and they were unbelievable managers. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes. Absolutely. Sometimes you have to put them. I actually preference if I had a family member join our dealership, or if it was one of my, I would say start in the BDC.
Yeah.
Learn, because when you're in there, you're working all the time.
Right.
Phones, you got to dial, you got to do things.
That's
learn the BDC, learn the CRM, make sure you understand how to use the marketing end of it, get certified on your products, then go into sales. Because you already have a different mindset of you're here to work.
Yeah.
You're not sitting in a BDC. I remember years ago hearing the statistic that the average sales consultant works 3 hours of an 8-hour shift to sell a car an hour down the road.
Yeah.
I believe that is probably accurate today.
Yeah.
But if you had them trained that you come in and you actually work all day,
that's right.
I think that's the training ground that you have.
Yeah.
BDC, sales, and then if they do well, we have plenty of sales consultants that are doing very well. We have 3 people that are going to make over $250,000 in our company.
Wow, that's great.
Selling cars.
Yeah,
they have no interest in being a manager going into F&I. They work their own schedule. They're in control of everything they're doing right now.
Sure.
So
that's fantastic.
That's what you want everybody to do, but those guys come in to work.
That's right.
They come in and they're working.
And we did see an increase in the average number of units sold by a salesperson during COVID because it was like 10 or whatever, 11 or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden it shot up to 15, 20 cars. You had five individuals selling 100 cars a month. It was like, damn, this is great. Has that now subsided over the last couple of years?
I think it's back to what it was. Right back to normal.
Right.
Other than if you have sales consultants that understand this business is much more fun when you have referrals to previous owners or people that you're prospecting.
That's right.
And that's what the best sales consultants are doing. And in our company, most of them, our best people, are 70% of their sales are referrals, owners, and prospects.
Yeah, for sure. That's where you're going to make the most money.
That's how you build a business.
That's right.
That's the thing, too, I tell salespeople. you're literally, you can be an entrepreneur. You can build a business within this business. You're not paying for, the power.
Nope.
You're not paying for your phone.
Nope.
You've got
Inventory.
a computer.
Nope.
You've got a back office. You've got a finance office.
Yeah.
You can sit and build. You guys know Frank Crenity, right? You know
Yes.
Frank.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Killing it.
Frank and
Killing it,
Ali
yeah.
Rita, they
Killing
make
it.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry
supporting
about
their
lawsuits
community.
either. No
That's right.
lawsuits. You don't have to.
Yeah,
none
no.
of that. You have none
Yeah,
of that.
right.
Insurances. None of that.
Nothing.
That's the play.
Yeah,
That's
there's
the play.
but so few individuals that get in see it that way. You know what I mean? They still look at it as a job, or they're working for a company and they don't get it. They're working for themselves and they've got an opportunity, especially now with social media. I mean, we all see the social media videos that are getting passed around by salespeople that are driving. Russ Flips Whips comes to mind.
He is something else. I just friended him
really
up the other
is.
day. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, I interviewed him here on the show, and the guy's an amazing guy. Now he's doing so good with that. That's his new business.
So he
I
went
think-
out on
I
his
think
own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. But you're right. I mean, you got to look at it as your own business. And this told to me a long time ago. I don't know that I listened because I was a young salesperson at the time. But at the end of the day, for the ones that get it and it clicks, man, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
right?
sky's the limit.
I think other than that, if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or attorney, or your dad's or mom's going to give you a business, where else can you go where everybody that's over 16 is a prospect?
I know. It's true.
They can't legally buy something till they're 18,
right.
but really you can look at it and say, and if you ever feel bad, you just look at a busy road and go, every one of those people. Every one of them are go to a busy mall and go, everybody here.
Everybody here.
They're all a prospect. They all
right.
are going to need a car.
That's right.
Yes.
And we often forget that every car we sell, there's another car in the driveway.
Yes.
Like usually about 1.5 on average. But we don't really necessarily follow up on that or look at it the same way. We just do kind of a one and done.
And if you could tell somebody, but if it's not intrinsic and they don't understand it, they don't believe it, or a lot of them think, I'm not going to be here a year down the road. I'm just doing this until I find something else. But
that's
if they sat down and found out what other vehicle you have in a household,
Yeah.
year, make, miles, when do you plan on replacing it, and just had a conversation, put it in their CRM, made notes on it, called
right.
people up, their life would be so easy.
I know. It really is incredible. Let me ask you, as we wrap up this session, and thank you for all the time you've given us here, but tell me, what are you telling your clients to focus on as we go in here now to the second quarter of 2025 with all that's going on out there? If you had to pick one or two things, what do you want your GMs and dealers to have their F&I departments really focus on, and sales departments?
That is really easy for me to answer. And talking about the basics and process is not the sexiest thing to talk about, but it really boils down to that. We are now, like we talked about margin compression, there is a spotlight on F&I right now. And the highest performing F&I stores are those that have a legitimate written, not just a loosey-goosey process, a written process that's duplicatable, that's brainwashed, everybody understands it. Mm-hmm. And then there's somebody within the four walls of the dealership responsible to hold it accountable. Mm-hmm. So if we have a process and it's being adhered to by accountability, you can continue to move the needle in the right direction. If there's, and that's buy-in from the dealer down. Like I know Chris, I know him well enough, he's all about training development. Right. So I'm pretty confident, I'm not in Kelly's stores every day, but I'm pretty confident that everybody's dialed in on training development, everybody kind of knows what they're supposed to be doing. There are a lot of stores, unfortunately, out there where it's loosey-goosey, the GM or the dealer's kind of into training, maybe into training, but then there's nobody holding any processes accountable, and F&I managers go to lunch right before the cash deal, now that customer's waiting for 45 minutes. It's process, it's accountability with one final factor, having that burning desire to train and develop and sharpen your blade when no one else is watching so you can get to that next level. That's what I tell people.
Yeah, I agree. And Chris, what are you focused on for this? I mean, for the whole group. I mean, I know the position that you hold. You have a lot of different franchises underneath you. And how many people make up the Kelly Group now?
Just right around 500.
500 people.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So of those 500, what do you want them to focus on in this craziness that we're in the middle of?
This is outside. I just want them to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
I just focus every single day on being this much better than you were the day before.
Right.
And we know that sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, but if you keep going forward, there's going to be times you're taking 2 steps.
That's right.
Then another 2 steps, and maybe only 1 step back. But I think you have to always be pushing and surround yourself with other people that are great and watch the other ones that are doing well. This is a pretty simple business.
It is.
If you watch what the others are doing,
yeah,
and you observe and then you ask questions, Jim, so why did you do that?
Right.
You know, what would you have said during this time?
Right.
What did you say to this customer? What was the mindset? Questions
yeah.
of top producers.
That's right.
That you do. And I would say that for every manager. If you're a fixed operations manager,
yeah.
what other manager is doing a better job than you? Ask those questions.
That's right.
Find out what they're doing, be specific, but build that relationship with other people that are just doing a great job, and make a phone call to them, go visit other dealerships. We talked today about me visiting another dealership. I saw this Ford dealership that was selling 300 used cars in an area that is a very small market, Bob
Wow.
Worth Ford.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go visit him.
Yeah.
You know, I went to go visit Brian Benstock because I heard what he was doing.
Yep.
So I went there a few times.
Yep.
You know, learn from other people
Yeah.
and be open-minded to say, what are they doing and how can I duplicate that and take it to our store?
That's right. That's right. It's great advice. You should write a book about that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we're showing the book right now. One last question on that, by the way. What do you do with the individual? And you kind of touched on this a minute ago, where the training, you know, is kind of the guy or the guy or girl's doing, you know, 25 cars a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he doesn't need to be on the
Yeah.
training. Okay, he doesn't come to training.
Yeah.
She doesn't come to training. And the others go, oh, wait, what do you mean
Yeah.
they don't come to training?
Yeah.
Is that a reward if you hit a certain number that they don't need to come to training? Or
Well, in our company, if we have training, everybody comes. But I do believe in the statement that there's nothing more unequal than equal treatment of unequals. Now, what do I mean by that? Everybody's equal
Yeah.
in life.
Sure.
But if I have somebody selling 25 cars a month, 30 cars a month, and 80% of them are referral owners and prospects, and he wants a special schedule, or she
Yeah.
wants a special schedule, they want to come in late, take
Sure.
a day off, I have no problem looking at somebody and say, when you sell 25 to 30 cars every month,
Sure.
and majority of them are your own previous owners,
yeah,
I will give you a special schedule too.
Yes, yes.
So just get to that 25, 30
That's right.
cars every month, and I will make
That's
sure
right.
that you
But
have that
otherwise, they
schedule.
got to be in training.
Otherwise, they got to be in training.
That's right.
Yeah, and they don't even question being in training.
Yeah.
And you know what? Our job never ends, because I've had a manager say to me one time, when does this end that I have to keep telling somebody the same thing over and over again? I said,
doesn't.
You should be happy. Should I tell you why? Because all a dealer would have to do is hire a training company and a recruiting company and
right.
sit back and enjoy life.
That's
We
right.
all have jobs because it's every single day.
That's exactly
You have to
right.
just keep, every day, we just keep going the same.
No,
It's never
question.
going to end.
I know. Adam Marburger and Chris Saraceno, thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
me on the
Oh,
show.
thank
This has been
you.
great.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys taking the time and
Yes.
flying in here to the studio and
Oh,
all
yeah.
the content you've given us. And finally,
Yeah.
we got you in
Yes.
the CBT studio.
I
So,
promised you I was going to do this.
there you go. All right, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.